In an empire's fear and persecution ruled world, a group of ordinary men and women sparked a movement that would leave an indelible mark on history. But below the miracles and the sermons, there's a tale of horror, betrayal, courage, and blood. Book of Acts is the beat of the early church, but beneath the miracles and the wholesale conversions, a story of constant resistance, arrests, beatings, executions, and yet they held on to the faith. Look at Paul, jailed more times than we can count, flogged with rods, shipwrecked, betrayed. And yet he writes, "I am not ashamed of the gospel." Chinese Christians gather in basement churches, secret apartments, and hillside forests. Pastors are in jail. Security cameras cover walls in government-run churches. But still, they pray. Acts 4:29. The Lord look on their threats and grant your servants the courage to preach your word with great boldness. In certain parts of the Middle East, to be Christian is to be an exile, or worse. But house churches are proliferating. Visions of Jesus are occurring, just as for Saul on the Damascus Road. In Nigeria and Somalia, they burn down churches, kidnap Christians, kill them. But the blood of martyrs, as Tertullian would say, is the seed of the church. For 2 centuries, critical scholars have mounted assaults on Acts as unreliable history. They've said it's full of geographical mistakes, political misconceptions, and cultural inaccuracies. They said it was written by a person who was far removed from the events themselves. But this is the wonderful thing. Every one of the major archaeological discoveries of the past 150 years has confirmed Acts, not disproved it. Scores of discoveries, inscriptions, buildings, documents, verifying detail after detail. Luke, the physician historian. Who was Luke? Paul calls him Luke, the beloved physician, in Colossians 4:14. His medical education is significant. Ancient physicians were trained in meticulous observation, precise record-keeping, and systematic approach. Luke brought his scientific mind to the task of writing history. Luke begins his gospel professionally. Having had perfect knowledge of everything from the very beginning, having traced it accurately, I decided to put it down so that you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of things which have been taught you. This is the vocabulary of fierce historical scholarship. In comparison to historians like Thucydides or Polybius, Luke uses the shared vocabulary of accurate ancient historiography. He's not writing propaganda, he's documenting history. Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke and Acts, together accounting for 25% of the New Testament. This makes him the single largest contributor in volume to the New Testament. Luke was not just interviewing others, but was also a constant eyewitness himself. He indicated in Acts the we sections where he switches from third person to first person narration. Starting in Acts 16:10. After Paul had seen the vision, we prepared to set out at once for Macedonia and began traveling there, expecting to preach the word to them. These are passages in Paul's most significant writings. Luke was not present when Paul first set foot in Europe, during his arrest in Jerusalem on the shipwrecked voyage to Rome. When Luke describes Paul's trials, he sat in the courtroom. When he describes the storm at sea, he was on that ship. The early church across the board accredited Luke as the author of Acts. Church fathers such as Irenaeus and Tertullian recognized Luke's authorship consistently, despite being much nearer to the events than contemporary critics. During the 1800s, German critics had contended Acts was authored in the 2nd century by an individual uninformed of 1st century realities. Then Sir William Ramsay came along, a skeptic recognized at first, who sought to debunk Acts using archaeological inquiry in Turkey. Ramsay followed in Paul's footsteps for decades. What he found changed his opinion completely. Luke got detail after detail dead right. Obscure political designations, accurate geographical details, right cultural practices. Ramsay became Acts' most staunch defender. Findings since Ramsay have gone on to exonerate Acts. The Gallio inscription at Delphi confirms Acts 18:12. The Politarch's inscription at Thessalonica confirms Acts 17:6. Excavations at Ephesus, Corinth, and Caesarea verify Luke's descriptions. Scholar Colin Heemer documented over 80 historically attested facts in Acts supported by external facts. Even skeptical scholars today accept Acts' history and typically located in the 1st century rather than the 2nd. Acts covers a huge geographics, from Rome to Jerusalem, with dozens of cities in several Roman provinces. It accounts for 30 years of history with numerous Roman governments, several cultures, and various religious groups. Luke describes encounters with proconsuls, procurators, politarchs, asiarchs, and magistrates. He knows their titles correctly, their jurisdictions accurately, their responsibilities properly. He knows which towns were Roman colonies, their status under law, and their significance in the area. He demonstrates extensive familiarity with Jewish custom, Roman procedure in the courts, Greek convention, and local customs of the cult. He provides accurate details regarding commercial ways, navigation, and social usage. Acts isn't just theology. It's a cornerstone to our faith. Acts provides us with historical evidence that Christianity isn't based on myth or legend, but on scrupulously recorded fact. The same God who guided Luke's pen and continued these accounts through centuries is working in our lives today. Luke documented the mighty works of God in human history with breathtaking accuracy. Acts shows how the gospel broke through despite resistance and persecution by everyday folk touched by the Holy Spirit. The same force available to us. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for the next video. Share this with a person who needs to know the evidence of Scripture's reliability. Let me know in the comments what aspect of Acts' historicity you're most curious about. Thanks for joining me on this journey into Acts' historical credibility. Until we meet again when we discover how archaeology has vindicated Luke's political reliability.